Hey, it's Joe Solari here with Author Nation, and this is our next AI update with Elizabeth Ann West. How you doing, Elizabeth?
I'm good. Hold on one second here. Hey, Omni, can you say hi to my friend Joe Solari?
Hi, Joe Solari. How are you doing today?
How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing fine. Omni.
That sounds great, Elizabeth. How have you been lately?
Hey, listen, we're doing a whole writers conference in Vegas, and I'm going to be able to show you to a bunch of authors there. Are you excited for an author conference in Vegas in November?
That sounds amazing, Elizabeth. An author conference in Vegas sounds like a fantastic opportunity. I'm definitely excited. What kind of sessions or events will you have there?
So you're going to be on the screen at Author Nation. So can you say something about Author Nation positive real fast?
Absolutely. Author Nation is an incredible community for writers to connect, learn, and grow. It's a place where authors support each other and share invaluable insights. Being a part of Author Nation is truly inspiring and empowering for any writer.
Thanks, Omni. Talk to you later. Bye.
So tell
You're
us
welcome.
about what we just experienced.
Bye.
So this was the big announcement. I said 4.5 was going to come by summer. It kind of did. They didn't call it 4.5. They're calling it 4 Omni. And
Okay.
it is like so cool. It's mostly text to speech, and they're making it even more advanced. So now you can have this app on your phone. And they also made it free for everybody. OpenAI made Chat Omni, that feature, free to everyone who just makes an account. You don't even have to necessarily pay for it. When he came out last month, I had a funeral in Texas and I had to drive. I literally wrote 10,000 words on the road with him because I was like, I want to brainstorm this idea. And we just talked back and forth. So through my car, he was talking to me and he would read it out loud. And I was like, oh, I don't like those characters. Change the brother to he's now a corporal in the army and he fought at Waterloo. And then Omni was like, sure, Elizabeth. And then it would just rechange the outline.
Wow.
So this is a whole new functionality of accessibility and productivity. It's on your phone. You can literally just say, hey, Omni, do this. And everything he said, by the way, is in my ChatGPT account in text form so I can copy and paste. So you can be
Oh,
in the
very
grocery
interesting.
store saying, I need to make 10 tweet ideas for my book, get home, and those tweets are right there.
Wow. When you think about that for folks that are just getting started and, trying to multitask with a day job and a family and trying to get the writing squeezed in, this whole game has changed for sure.
Yeah. You can also feed your documents in there and just have it read it to you so that you can be listening. And so most of us have been paying text to speech and stuff for editing purposes or to make sure that we didn't mess up our characterization. And Omni is a game changer, and he's only going to get more and more functionality as he grows. So thanks for the little trick. I thought you would think it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is. It's always what I love about these calls is, what I learn because I've just kind of tried to keep as much as I can with a few newsletters, but between you and Jay Falconer, I just can like tell me what I need to really know about because there's so much that comes out every week that sometimes it's like, should I even be paying attention to this because it's going to change next week? So I love the fact that I can kind of lean in on you guys and say, okay, it's been a few months. You made some predictions.
I did.
We'll see how they all came out and we'll talk about that. And then like, here's what's new and here's what's relevant
Mm-hmm.
for us to be playing around with the next few months. So let's kind of go to your predictions.
So one of them was 4.5. We didn't get 4.5. They're calling it 4 Omni, but I was right that we were going to get a new model from OpenAI before the summer. So that I would say that's half correct. I mean, maybe it wasn't 4.5 exactly, but it's so different than anything that they've released before. And now this thing is going to very quickly have your remember when they wanted Siri to be like your personal assistant and some of these
Yeah.
other things? This thing actually has the ability to actually like schedule in your calendar and interact with different apps and things like that if you hook them into your OpenAI. So I think this is really the future of a true AI personal assistant that can you can just be like, Omni, what am I listening to? Okay, now put that into my cart and like things that retailers and stuff dreamed of. I think we're actually going to get.
Yeah. And I I've seen some other people talking about that same thing where, this thing is going to act as an agent for you in more and more ways if you choose to use it, and how
Yes.
that can really start to leverage productivity. I mean, the fact that, we're talking about this in the publishing world, and the idea that you could be waiting to pick up your kids and start working on an outline over your phone in the
Mhm.
car, right? Like, that's really important.
Yeah, and it's OpenAI is also keeping memory. So there was one I was working on one chat where I was talking about this new podcast I've launched with the Book Career Network with Nick Thacker, but it's
Mhm.
me and Stacey Anderson, and it's called Author Intelligence. So we have a new podcast going out every Thursday on AI, deep stuff on AI for you to listen to on all the different podcast places. And we were working on brainstorming in one chat. And then the next chat, I was like, hey, I'm working on my podcast, Author Intelligence, with my co-host. And Omni had it saved in my memory that my co-host was Stacy. So just like he said, hi to you, and I told him your name, I didn't have to tell him Stacy's name. He just went, hey, Stacy, how are you today? So it really is getting really smart where it will keep little pieces of information. Right now,
Mm.
that information is very small. It's only like a few thousand words so it's like whatever's in there, it lets it go once new stuff comes in. But um, as we have more and more storage capabilities, that's going to get even more robust.
That makes sense. That makes
Yep.
sense.
One of the other predictions I had was also in deal with agents. We at the Future Fiction Academy have started making agents with Rexy, and then we have brand new software that's launching at the end of this summer, where authors are going to be able to have like, Sally, you're in charge of characters. Joe, you're in charge of this. And these agents will actually be able to work with each other on different outputs and things like that. For as you're writing, it can like keep track of your characters in real time, and you don't have to keep prompting it. It'll just naturally prompt and all that. So there's been a lot of wasted time on, like, if I'm writing with AI, or if I'm doing marketing with AI, or if I'm editing with AI, I've got to like organize all my information. You don't have to do that anymore. And these newer models are so big and so cheap. It is like less than $1 for 750,000 words with Microsoft's Wizard model. It's an open source model, so it'll do sex and violence, and it has a 65,000 token context. So it's not quite at the level of the bigs of like Claude. Now we just got 3.5 or 4, but it's good enough that people are using it, and it's less than $1 for 750,000 words. That's just insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that, one thing that consumes a lot of your time is keeping up with all of these new things. And the bigger picture is not getting hooked on one particular one. Is like, right now it's play with them all and see it, because eventually there will be a winner, right? Like, that's how these things work.
I don't think there will be a winner. I think different models are trained very differently. So like different tasks, what we are seeing is like OpenAI and Google are a lot better at, like, if I give it information and I want a story Bible, for example, to save me time. Like, I wrote this book 10 years ago and I've got to write the sequel. What the heck happened? Those models are much better at doing factual information. Claude, everybody likes for like more imaginative things. And those are kind of like the three bigs right now for as far as foundational models go.
Yeah, but in the context of how many models are out there right now, and you're saying there's three, right? Like, that's what I mean by winners. It's not there's going to be.
Those are
It's
the
not going
big
to be
ones.
like there's going to be one, one monopoly on this. Although there's several companies that are betting a lot of money on being that, but there is going to be, different winners in these different categories. And I know there's also a lot of specialized stuff that we're not even thinking about because it's not in our domain, but there's going to be somebody that'll be a big winner in medicine. There'll be a big winner in, the legal field, right? I was talking to Isabella's dad, who's a partner at Sidley Austin, and they were talking about, they're training in a proprietary LLM.
Yes. I think that is the way forward for a lot of these companies and things like that. If you have a big enough industry, it makes sense to train your own model. This is something that authors wish that they could do, and they're like, I want to train my own model. The best you can do as an individual author is do a fine tune, so it kind of talks like you or writes like you. But most authors don't have enough data. Now, a law firm and stuff like that, you've got so many cases and things.
Yeah. But here's what I would say to that point is like, we're not that far from that where it's going to be economical and possible for you to train that. So are you doing the work today to compile the information
Yeah.
to be able to train that model? Right. You don't want to, the day that it starts to become available, you're like, well, now what do I use? Like you start thinking about how, as you're going through your journey forward, you're doing a better job. Like I know in your case, a lot of your stuff goes into Notion.
Yes.
Right. So like I am a big Notion user and it's not as organized as I would like it to be, but I know, but I know that the information's there. Right.
Mhm.
And that with the right overlay, that could, you know, that data could be the source material for my LLM, right?
Yep.
That gets into all my marketing stuff and how I, you know, all my research. I mean, I've got stuff where, are you familiar with Zotero?
Zotero. So tell me about, is it Zotero?
Zotero, yeah. So it's a tool for people doing research to like, when you're going around, it captures the citation and it'll save a copy of the file. You can go in there, you can like do your own highlights and pull quotes. And it's really mainly used for people doing like, you know, research for like their doctorate and stuff. But there, of course, now there's the ability to take, you know, Zotero, whatever I go and capture, if I put it in a certain filing, it then squirts over into my Notion, right?
Yeah.
So that I can then go source it there, right? So there is, it's becoming more and more that one place of truth where I don't have to go like, go into Zotero and start looking for this particular research by this professor, right? I just go into Notion and use its AI function and go find me those things, right?
We have a new tool that we just built called Quick Cut. And I don't know why this tool doesn't exist. It's not actually an AI tool. It's just a tool in response to, like, I don't know if you're having this problem, but we generate a lot of stuff when we work with AI. Like it just generates so many documents. And we have a tool that you can put in a whole bunch of documents. And you know how a lot of times with like AI, you have to cut a lot of the stuff out. Like you just cutting this, it's just very verby, very verbose, very wordy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we made a tool that just launched this month where you can one click, highlight all up and down the document, one click and remove it all at once. And that seems like a very small productivity tool, but when you're processing, you know, 10 chapters or, you know, a bunch of different newsletters that it wrote, we're getting it to where we're cutting everything we don't like very quickly, and it saves you on the having to press delete and like move down. It lets you get into a flow state of like you're just up and down and nope, and then one click remove.
Now, is that inside OpenAI or is that inside Notion?
No, that's inside of Rexy. So
inside
what Rexy does is it takes a bunch of Notion documents. You can batch edit them really quickly, and then it'll send the edits to Notion. So now you have new Notion. And then we have Quick Copy, which allows you to take 2 Notion documents and the same kind of, we call it kit bashing. You can highlight, and the order that you highlight in, it just automatically writes it to the middle. So you have a universal scroll on 2 documents, and you're just highlighting, and it just adds it to the middle. It makes editing a lot faster. Even if you're not using AI words, you can actually be using like 2 different versions of the same scene that you wrote, and you're taking what you like. So
cool. So you talked about Omni. You mentioned that there's some new stuff that's come out, like with Claude and
yeah, Claude is an important one. Let me go ahead and share my screen and show you some Claude real fast. So Claude's newest thing that they just added are these projects. So you can use as a project, and you can add content, and then you can reuse content. So this isn't quite an agent, but it's moving in that direction. It also can make you what's called an artifact. So you have to turn that on. So when you're in your settings here, you go to settings, and you want to, not that, but it's the account one. Nope. Okay, I'll get back to you on where to find it. We have it in our YouTube video on how you turn it on. It's something like experimental settings and things like that. But if I wanted to create a new project, I could. But let's go ahead and upload. I'm going to add content. I'm going to add a book that I wrote. So this is a little novella that we wrote last week with AI. My mom has already read it and shook her phone at me that she wants more. And I'm going to say, I need a blurb for the novella in the PDF. And I need a whole marketing campaign using YouTube videos and free chapters and Twitter and Pinterest. So there we go. I'm just asking for some marketing and I click go. Now I just gave it the manuscript of my novella, 17,500 words. It has everything. And now it's going to do all this. Certainly. So it's going to make me a whole blurb. Jennifer Holland thought she had it all figured out: a successful career in Hollywood accounting, a popular finance blog, and a loving relationship with her teenage daughter. But when her mother's death upends her world, Jennifer finds herself juggling grief, family drama, and unexpected unemployment. As she navigates the challenges of single motherhood and an uncertain future, Jennifer must confront her past, including her estranged father, who suddenly wants back in her life. With her home at stake and her career in shambles, can Jennifer reinvent herself and find a new path of success? And then it just makes me a whole marketing campaign. Use the hashtag $Diva for all book-related tweets. Share daily diva tips, short financial advice snippets by the book. Host Twitter chats. Mama's recipes. We actually talked about that. Pins of comfort food recipes mentioned in the book. Podcast experiences, everything. So I'm like, okay, yeah, make me some Mama recipes. There you go. I think authors are losing out by not using it, because we do have chocolate chip pancakes in the book. So it'll just make you a chocolate chips pancake book. And now I would take that recipe and then I would film myself making it, like I would test it. I mean, it's just insane that you have this assistant at your fingertips. This would have taken hours in the past to come up with or to work on and everything like that.
That's crazy.
Write me 10 tweets to tease the book. And there we go. Now, something about marketing for ChatGPT, and this is why the focus on the FFA this month or this quarter is all on marketing. So, Joe, do you do like a scheduler for your social media at all? Or does the person who handles your social media has like a scheduler, like a
yes. So I got a guy.
You got a guy. But you're aware that they all use software, right, to reach your accounts and everything like that.
Yeah.
And they all take a CSV file, which for those who don't know, it's comma separated value. It's like a spreadsheet, right? And what these things will do, I use Sendable personally, but these things will give you like a template. So let me share with you real fast what I did earlier today. So here I said, I'm going to give it a CSV file, and I gave it the CSV file template that Sendable gives me. See, message, hello world, send date, and the dates. I had ChatGPT write me 25 tweets about writing with AI. Every plot twist is a surprise when you write with AI. And then after it did that, I made it put it in the CSV file. And I said, hey, yo, dude, you messed up the headers. The headers need to be correct. And then it just fixed the headers. It made all of this in less than 5 minutes. And then I went over to Sendable. So here's Sendable. I can, oh, by the way, my prompt over here, just so they can see it, was that I wanted the times to be, I want the tweets to start July 11th, 2024 at 8 p.m. and then be separated by 51 hours from each other. So that's what it had to do. If I come over to Sendable in my scheduled, I can go ahead and click this button that I want to upload. All right, so I'm going to select multiple messages at once. I'm going to upload that CSV that that ChatGPT made for me, AI writing messages. Click open. I tell it that the date format is the year first. And there's the message, all 25, all scheduled. I can schedule 25 messages at once. That is insane. I used to do this by hand. I used to sit in front of the TV and like write these out and then have to schedule them manually.
Yeah, it's exciting to see how fast these tools are developing and how stuff that most importantly people don't like to do. Like this is the stuff that like blurbs and you and I have been around long enough to be where we've sat in countless sessions about writing blurbs.
Yeah, and that wasn't a great blurb. It was a good start. And then I would start, tweaking it and editing it. But
Sure.
blank page
Yeah.
is usually the first hurdle for most people. It's like, where do I even start with this?
Right. Right. And, if you were, I know this is something you guys do a lot where you're not just only working in AI, you're working with others who are working in AI. So
Mhm.
you're kind of doing kind of a workshopping with humans, workshopping with the robots concurrently. Right. So it's like, what's the output? Now you guys talk about it and be like, that was hilarious, but actually there's something there we might use, right? Like,
Yeah, Stacey Anderson and I co-wrote a novella last week. We say it's you and me and the AI makes three, baby. And we were just testing to see like, what are the limits here? Where could we do, how fast can we do this? And in
Mhm.
7.5 hours, and we recorded every second of it because we're going to be sharing that with authors. We would get it to write, and then we're sitting there looking at the scene and we're laughing and we're reading it together in a Zoom room, and we're like, oh wait, no, let's change this. And we're just putting our instructions in brackets through the thing and then giving that scene back to the AI to go like, make my fixes. It's our favorite little writing room. It was my best co-writing experience ever, because usually when you co-write with someone, like if you and I were co-writing a nonfiction book and you're like, hey Elizabeth, I just wrote this chapter, and when I have critiques, you have feelings about that because you wrote those words, right? Like you have a sunk cost attached to those words. Co-writing with AI is just like a dream because neither one of us is heart set on those specific words. We're really going in there with a harsh critical eye and being like, this is bad writing, we need to fix this, and nobody's feelings are hurt.
Awesome. Well, on the forefront of marketing, you mentioned there was some stuff around Canva that
Yeah.
is really getting you excited. And
Canva, one of the things that people struggle with, if you're not a designer, even if you are a designer, it's a real pain in the patootie to have to make different versions for all the different social media out there. Does that make sense to you a little bit?
yeah.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. This time we'll pop into Canva. So Canva, I just had this image of robot heart hands. I already had one. So here's just a very simple, square image. I just put, one of those tweets on there, AI co-author, always available, never judgmental, AI writing. This resize magic switch, now this is only available to paid people on Canva, but it's like $15 a month. It's way cheaper than having a personal assistant or anything like that. You can literally go to social media and say what you want to make this. So maybe I have to make a YouTube video for this. Maybe this is going to be a YouTube thumbnail. I literally just click YouTube thumbnail, go continue, and copy and resize, and I can open it. And it has made me an entire YouTube thumbnail with the assets. And all I have to do is move this around, maybe make it a little bit smaller, just minor adjustments. But I now have two things. I can come back over here, the big one, TikTok videos, right? Let's make a TikTok video, shall we? So copy and resize, open mobile video, one click, it's there, the little image. You can add more images. It thinks this needs to be 5 seconds, and you can add music to it. So you can take like a sequence of images that you have for your Facebook carousel, one click, turn it into an Instagram reel or turn it into a TikTok video. It's never been faster to take an asset that you maybe have worked really hard on making sure it's on your brand and has the right colors and has the right graphics and everything, and then turn it into all these different assets that you need for all your other platforms.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. There's so much more. We're covering, we have a whole 6-session course next month on just automating your social media with AI. So there's ways to take those CSV files I showed you how you can make, pipe those into Canva, one click, and it'll make you a bunch of images with the text on the images, all within your brand kit. So we're really going to show authors how they can scale their marketing operations without necessarily having to break the bank.
No, that's, and again, it's the, whatever you decide to do with your particular marketing strategy, right? We're not saying you have to do everything all the time on every platform, but if you are going to, be building an appropriate funnel where you're trying to get some discovery on some of these social media channels, this is a way to do it, right? It's a way to invest as little time as you possibly can and get some results out of it.
Yeah. And I think also in the hands of somebody who's very talented, this makes their talents exponentially great. So maybe you already have a marketer, maybe you already have a designer who's been doing fantastic. And now all of a sudden that they can 10x their production. I talked with a virtual assistant who's a good friend of mine, and now that she's starting to use these things, she used to only have the capacity to only serve like 3 main author clients, and she had other author clients who wanted her. And now with being able to use AI, and she's upfront that, hey, I do use AI to make some of the social media stuff. And people are realizing like she's able to serve more authors by doing that, which is better off. More readers can find out about books. You know, it's
Yeah, well, this is something you and I have talked about, and I've been very clear in our discussions around AI is as a tool, it results in you doing things more efficiently or better, right? So like
yes.
it's getting hung up on, well, it's creating more stuff. Yes. But what's going to, in the end, differentiate everybody isn't volume, it's going to be quality. So having these tools, getting quality products out faster is going to be what matters, right? Not just slamming stuff out, whether it's, Twitter images or, right? Like there's who, we could go look it up. We could ask AI if we wanted how many average daily Twitter messages there are, but the reality, right. But the reality is that's another power law curve. The most amount of messages that get looked at are a very small percentage of the total messages. It's probably tenths or hundredths of a percentage point. How do you be that? That's what's going to be what matters in the future is how you're connecting up with an audience that can compound and become that stands out, right? That's really the magic of this thing is that is figuring out how those tools make that more efficient for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm thinking about it.
Organic marketing, I think, is really the opportunity here because right now paid marketing is very much in flux because they're integrating AI and there's been very mixed results because as we talked about last time, AI doesn't think, right? So it can only predict and there's some problems there. I've seen some people just stop their Facebook ads altogether because of the AI that Facebook has running.
Yeah.
Messed up their ads.
And we've seen that. I've had some conversations with some clients about how it regresses to a mean, which is it's inherent in the design of any machine learning.
Yep.
It's going to optimize to a point and that's it.
You are the exceptional in this equation, I think. And so when you take the exceptional and you give them access to the AI, so they're AI enhanced, then I think it's actually a really good situation versus just letting the AI make all the decisions or be completely in charge.
Right. Well, I think that's true for any of this stuff, that you do is.
A great book I just read is Day Trading Attention by Gary Vee. Mm-hmm. And he's making the argument of like be on as many platforms as you can, understand that some algorithms are designed to keep people on that platform. And there's 2 different ways that they can do that. Older social media like Facebook is trying to show you what you're interested in, although they've changed that most recently. TikTok tries to show you things that are interesting. So it's things like the other day, YouTube showed me pictures of people cutting rocks open. Joe, never in a million years would I have searched for videos of people sawing rocks open. Do you know how many videos I've watched now of people cutting rocks open? And I'm like, what's inside? Is it going to be a quartz bomb? Is it going to be quartz or is it an agate? I mean, but the core thing there is that there's a story, there's mystery, there's surprise. Yeah. Design, storytelling is always the core of marketing, whether you're cutting open rocks or whatever you're doing.
Interesting you should say that. We have a speaker at Author Nation coming, a guy named Drew Davis.
Awesome.
And he's doing a presentation called The Curiosity Factor. And I've seen this guy speak before. It's really amazing stuff. And you're going to come out of that understanding how to use curiosity to keep people engaged. Right. Yes. And, it's not it's so different than from what these platforms are doing, right? That make it bite-sized, make it, sticky, it's like, that's not the business we're in as authors, right? We're in the experience business and we have to understand how we take that book experience or the experience of being bookish and make
Yep.
that about our brand and make that the message that brings people in. And that's where I think a lot of the, those platforms are actually antithetical to that experience, right? Not saying not to use them, but understand how you're playing on them.
Yeah,
With-
you only get a few seconds.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a few minutes. I bite-sized down my experience. I've always blogged chapters, and I found that that was more effective than giving away free books, because doing chapters, everyone's got time to read a chapter. You try to give someone a free book, they're like, I don't have time for that. They're doing a calculation.
Sure, for sure. Well, and we're in a world now where, just to kind of go down this, double click on this.
Yeah.
I can give you examples of people that are, are focused on the serialization,
Yep.
and they've completely flipped the funnel, right? So like,
Oh yeah.
they're putting out the serialized chapters that is all to eventually get a few really dedicated true fans on platforms like Patreon, right?
Or Ream
Or Ream, or any of,
or
or on your own platform.
Galatea.
Yeah. Right. So all of those different things. And that's not for everyone. Right.
No.
Right. The problem with authors is they're like, well, somebody's making money at that, so I should do that too. It's like, no, it has to be part of the brand experience. And if you're the kind of person that's able to produce consistently in a serialized fashion, and it recharges your well to do it that way, then that's probably a good way to go. But if you're not that,
Right.
it's going to be really painful. And then you're going to be like, this is like a job.
In the FFA, we actually have a sub club, which is subscription clubs. It meets every other Thursday. And so about half of the members of the FFA, they participate in subscriptions and stuff. And for the other authors, they're like, that's not the way I write. That's not the way I market. So it is definitely you need to be someone who is energized by that energy, and also being willing to take reader feedback on these little snippets of chapters. It's not for the faint of heart. You're going to get a lot of reviews. You're going to get a lot of feedback, which can be great, but can also be a crippling thing for somebody too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you look at that and you think that people are invested enough in your brand that they want to give you feedback, that's
exactly.
It's not an attack. It's
Yeah.
not an attack. It's actually there, right? Like
Here.
I've had no shortage of people's opinions about how a show should be run.
No.
Which again, it's like, thank you. You're telling me what you think. Like it's that's something I can address. I might not agree with what you think, but at least then you're in a situation where I can get your opinions and I can give you mine, right? Like, this is
absolutely.
Right. So I think that's, well, let's not get off on that stuff.
I think it's really exciting. When I talk about the show coming in November, I tell people it's not going to be anything like you've done before. Like, he's got a lot of great stuff planned. There's social media influencers coming. There's speakers you've never heard before. It's not the same old speakers that have been there for the last 5 to 7 years. I say that as someone who's in her 3rd year speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. This is important. And I thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
The reason that you're coming back speaking is because you have new content and you're staying at the front edge. There's people that aren't coming back because they were going to bring the same content.
No, I'm not teaching the same thing I taught 3 years ago.
Yeah. And so we're going to get to your predictions in a minute, but here's one of my predictions. It's highly, highly probable. Okay. There will be speakers that people will see for the first time at this year's Author Nation that will fundamentally change the industry.
Yeah.
And will then be seen at every other convention over and over again and on every other podcast, because they'll be discovered there by the community. And then they'll be like, oh, we got to have this person talk. But remember where you saw it first. Remember that we're the people that are going out into these other communities and finding these people and going, hey, what if you did this and this and this? Could that be applied to being an author? I think it could. Well, let's get you in a case study. Let's get you working with some authors and test this out. That's the stuff.
Author Nation 3 years ago, it was under a different name, but Author Nation 3 years ago was my first speaking gig at a conference. And now I'm at some conferences. Other conferences are still holding out, but they'll come along. They'll come around.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of great innovation that I think is going to be there this year, and that's part of what Author Nation is all about. It's not about what worked 10 years ago. It's about what's working right now and what's going to be working in the future.
Right. That's the whole thing, is we're not trying to regurgitate some stuff that may be tactically working right now for one or two authors in one platform. We're saying, here's a variety of ways people are being successful, and we think these are the ones that are going to remain relevant in the future. And we need to stop just imitating each other. We need to start investigating and figuring out what's next. We have to take control of our destiny and make the
each other to innovate.
Yeah, like I'm not interested in standing around and having somebody show me how to go make a couple $100,000 on a book platform. I want to teach people how to build a business from scratch, from their creativity, in a way that fits them, right? And it means taking some things from different places and figuring out what works and what doesn't in an experimental way. And there's a big thing about, I think one of the most important things about what we've done this first year is we're challenging our speakers in a way that hasn't been done before. Right? It's like, you need to bring new ideas. You need to bring your best work, because we know if we're not all challenging each other, we're going to get wiped out.
Yeah, I think so. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So
let's wrap this up with your predictions. I did my prediction. Let's hear yours.
Oh man, my predictions. So I think that AI is going to be more readily adopted. Like, my parents are wanting AI on their phones. They're wanting me to set them up. So I think it's going to be like how YouTube became, like, my dad watches YouTube all day long. I think AI is now starting in the next couple of months and things like that. People are really starting to use it. It's being baked into operating systems starting next year. So we're going to really start to see that the backlash is going to be kind of moot at that point, because you can't get away from it. So it's really a good time now to start learning about it. The other thing is, everything is going to be about multimedia. That's the next big thing. So text is pretty much, I don't think there's going to be a lot more innovations on text writing. I think we got a 2 million token context on Google right now. I don't know when you need more than 2 million words or 2 million tokens. That's like a lot. I think it's going to be all about making videos and making images. And one thing I didn't show about Claude, for example, Claude, you can say, take that writing and put it into a Word document for me, and it'll just make you a Word document or make you that CSV file. So that's a completely different application than what we were seeing AI really being used for in the last 6 months. Now people are really using it to make assets and artifacts and actual finalized work that then they're using somewhere else. Before it was like, okay, yeah, you can make me an image and then I got to make edits to it. It's now being able to handle text inside of these AI images pretty decently. We made a logo yesterday.
I'm seeing some stuff with another thing I'm involved with around video that it's not here yet, but boy, is it getting there quick.
Give it 6 months.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is, rather than being scared of this, understand how this may open up an entirely new revenue stream to you that never existed.
We are borrowing Jay Falconer. You mentioned him. He showed me something last year at Novelists Incorporated, and we are literally using that for the press that we're launching next month. So Future Fiction Press, I made the YouTube channels last week or yesterday. So we're going to have YouTube videos of all of our chapters with, some graphics and things like that. And we're going into that because Stacy and I were talking this morning, and we were joking like, yeah, we only market our books if you pay us. So we're going to be building these channels that will become monetized. And it's like, you're promoting your books, but you're also making revenue off of the ads on YouTube. So it's a whole new demographic. Yeah. And there was lots of people who did YouTube channels, I would say about 7 or 8 years ago, and it was just too soon. It was too early. Now YouTube is so ubiquitous, it has replaced a lot of people's cable television. Yeah.
Well, I think that, that gets to there's an audience that, and this is the funny thing about, when, and I think we talked about this on the channel before, but, Bob Iger is not concerned about AI in the sense of like the writers thinking that he's coming to take their job. But Bob Iger is concerned about is he's losing eyeballs to Mr. Beast. He's losing his business is now competing with indie content creators in a way that's never been seen before, right? Yeah. He's got Mr. Beast has videos that has more views than ESPN has in a day, right? So like that's the game that's being played that we get to be a part of if we're embracing this stuff. So don't think about how, what you're losing. Think about what the blue ocean is that's opening up for you.
And it's not too late. Like I saw something cool last year. I'm only just now being able to put it into practice this year, a whole year later. Like anything that you see now and you're like, oh, it's too late for me because they're already so far ahead. Listen, we say it all the time in this industry. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And the truth is, whenever you decide to get started, that's the right time and you can build from there. Nobody else's building over here impacts you from building in your space.
Right.
So
yeah, the
FFA is going to be focusing on marketing. We now have a 7-day free trial and we have new software coming out at the end of the summer. So next time I come to visit you, we'll have some exciting cool. New software.
And I think that's real important because, one of the things that, and, this is kind of your homework is.
Oh, my homework.
Yeah. Well, because I believe one of the biggest threats that AI is presenting to the entire world is what it's going to do to search engines. Right.
Yes.
And if you don't believe me, just, the irony is that, Google's white paper is what started this whole thing and it's creating what might wipe them out.
All you need is attention.
Right. Exactly. That's right. And that was designed by them and they ignored it. And now it may be what takes them out. It may be what is the asteroid to their dinosaur. What happens if in the near future, everyone is doing their search via AI and chat, right? Like, how do we need to be ready for that? What do we need to be doing? We've talked a lot. You talked a lot about like creating, creatives. But I think there's a bigger, deeper picture in this that we're going to have to explore on this show, and help people through is how do we design our platform and our brand so that we become the source of truth, so that when somebody does ask AI about whatever the topic is that you feel that you should be an expert in, that it points
cheese
to you.
Sticking on pizza.
Yeah.
That's the famous one. Did you see that? And they told him to add Elmer's glue to the pizza to get the cheese. That's a Google search with AI funny that happened when they first launched it.
So but I over time, right? Like it's going to be looking at sources and determining, like, if somebody asks me what's the next historical fiction I should read, how is it going to determine that answer?
People are going to end up going to OpenAI because OpenAI is more personal and knows me more. It knows I watched this show and I was talking about this, and now it's going to recommend my book. There's definitely a bigger conversation, but I do think that we're going to need to be more flexible on working with AI companies. Time Magazine just made a licensing deal with OpenAI. And that means that Time Magazine is, when people search things on OpenAI, Time Magazine is going to fulfill those requests. I think that that's a big deal. And I think that there's already been kind of a model. YouTube didn't pay for people to do content on their channel. You did the content on YouTube, and YouTube became a bigger search engine. It's a bigger search engine, I think, than actually like Google proper is YouTube search. So, and I think AI is going to take that place. I think OpenAI is going to take that place.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got some ideas. We can talk about that at some point, but it's certainly going to be, something that we have to be thinking about. And the more that we can help folks.
Well, we'll have to do it. We'll have to do a meal in Vegas again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Awesome having you on.
Yeah.
And
we'll be seeing you.
Yeah.